Todd, thank you very much. While the city waits to find out whether Byron Brown's title will be changing from Mayor of Buffalo to President and CEO of Western Regional Off-Track Betting, we're taking a look at the future of the OTB.
Right now, we're joined by OTB's outgoing President and CEO, Henry WROTB. Henry, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
We appreciate it. All right, this has been a long-going story, certainly one that has caught the attention of all of Western New York and beyond because it's OTB, but also because we're now talking about the Mayor of Buffalo potentially taking the spot that you now currently hold. Let's go back to where some of this controversy perhaps started was in April. That was when the board of directors at the OTB decided, they agreed to buy you and two other executives out. That has received a lot of blowback from folks mostly on the Democratic side of the political aisle. We haven't heard you respond to that. I'd like you to respond to it. How do you respond?
Yeah, I mean, I would say, look, this is a board that is the new board that was part of their restructuring. This is a board that they appointed. So obviously they didn't like the other board. They replaced it with a new board, and they don't like their actions. The truth of the matter is it was a contract that was passed unanimously by the old board. The terms of it were from the old contract, unanimously passed by that board. He had Terry Connors, who's a legal analyst. I know he's been on this network many times, who let the board know, gave him the advice and said it was a legal term. I'd much rather take his advice than the people that are criticizing it. And I think you have a situation where, you have a couple bitter politicians who don't like what happened. Just because they don't like what happened doesn't make it wrong.
So now let's fast forward to the current situation. Speculation has surrounded Mayor Byron Brown well before the vote officially came down. What do you think of him potentially being your replacement?
I think he's going to be a great fit for OTB. I think he has what is necessary for the organization, good leadership skills, great relationships across the state. I think while we have done great things at OTB over the last 10 years, I mean, year-over-year growth from 21 to 22, 10%, right around 10% from the next year, and we're about 6% this year in a very, very tough environment. I mean, it's a hyper-competitive environment, 10 casinos within about 100 miles.
And let's actually talk a little bit about that structure, because I don't know how many people realize when they drive by the OTB sign, be it, in one of the suburbs or out at Batavia Downs. I don't really know if they know what that structure is. Could you explain the structure in terms of like the member counties and then the money that those member counties get from the OTB's revenues?
Sure. It's a 17-member board. Each member has one member on the board. It is a weighted vote now. In the old days, it was one person, one vote. Now that's changed. But there's 15 different counties, 2 different cities, the city of Buffalo, city of Rochester. And every 3 months, we have to basically the money that we take in, we pay our bills, and the rest that's left over, the profit goes back to those municipalities. And it's a pretty significant amount for the last couple of years. It's around $10 million. I think the county of Erie got close to $2 million, the city of Buffalo close to $1 million. Niagara County, used to get about $250,000. I think last year they got $750,000. This is money that they utilize to offset other things in the county or in the various cities. I know it's very helpful. We hear that from our member communities all the time.
And those same people who were leveling some of the criticisms last spring of the board of directors' decisions were also critical of the board of directors' method, if you will, or their process by selecting Byron Brown as their choice. People said it wasn't open and transparent. However, all the media were out there. We weren't in the executive session, of course. We wouldn't be in any executive session in any legal board. But we were out there to see the actual board take the vote. What do you say to folks who say this process was either, cooked up or it was in a fix?
I would say this. Dennis Bassett, who's been on that board for 14 years, is a guy who comes from corporate America, 50 years in corporate America. You listen to the gentleman. He's a very smart guy. He's participated in many searches before. There were 133 people, I think he told me, that interviewed. I was told, and I wasn't part of the process at all, I wasn't in the room when they interviewed, I was told by many of the board members that Byron Brown had an excellent interview. He really hit the ball out of the park. And so they were very happy. I think the selection process went along as it was put in place, and it sounds like they got their guy.
So what would the transition look like? Say it's Brown. Would you be working with him to kind of make that transition as smooth as possible?
Absolutely. I plan to do that. I plan to stay until the end of December. I think, once they arrive at their contract, that he will start hopefully in the next couple of weeks. And I certainly am looking forward to working with him closely to make that transition. My parents told me a long time ago, leave what you find in a better place. And I think we have done that, but there's certainly ways to improve. There's no question about it. There's a lot of improvement. There's a lot of improvement with relations all the way up through Albany, maybe the Gaming Commission. And there are quite a few things that can be done, I think, to take it to the next level. There's an expansion of the hotel that's on the table right now. I think it'd be very helpful with that. So yeah, I plan definitely to be hands-on, helping the transition for the next 4 months.
Excellent. OTB outgoing President and CEO Henry Otasek, thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me. I really
Thanks.
appreciate it.
Thanks.